You may have already come across the myths of menstruation several times. Most of the time, period blood is considered shameful and embarrassing, fading into the menstrual taboo. But back in the day, the indigenous people of the southeastern woodlands of the United States, known as Cherokee, considered menstrual blood as sacred. This is just a small part of the history of menstruation. And in today's video, we'll take you through the history of menstruation and menstrual products. If you're new to us, welcome to SoulFactors, women's favorite go-to for lifestyle, beauty, fashion, and health tips. Before we get into the topic, make sure to hit the subscribe and bell button to stay updated on our content. The Cherokee were not the only ones who believed that menstrual blood is powerful. In fact, the history of various cultures shows that a woman in her menstruation is said to hold immense strength, healing abilities, and psychic powers. And compared to today, women experienced less bleeding, with most of them hitting menopause at age 40. Now, you may be wondering how they dealt with periods back then. Well, the modern-day tampons and pads are not exactly modern. They were used since ancient times and were just of different forms. However, no clear-cut evidence has been found yet. According to historians, ancient Egyptians made tampons using softened papyrus. The Greeks, on the other hand, made tampons from wood and lint, whereas the Romans took a completely different approach. They used wool to make both pads and tampons. Although many women switched to materials that were more absorbent, a few chose to not use pads nor tampons. At the same time, the shame surrounding period blood continued to increase. This made it difficult for women to stay bleeding into their clothes. By the 18th century, people began to realize that bleeding into clothes is problematic for hygiene, and the 1890s marked the beginning of present-day menstruation products. This was also the time when the word period came into being, to be precise, in 1822. The first menstrual product was called Hosier Sanitary Belt, a washable pad, and just as the name suggests, is meant to be attached to a belt around the waist. And in 1867, the first menstrual cup was invented. In 1896, Johnson & Johnson, who is now one of the world's leading healthcare giants, developed the very first disposable pad called Lister Stiles. Whereas in 1929, an osteopathic physician, Dr. Earl Haas, designed the first tampon, which later came to be known as Tampax. But it was 1969 that marked the biggest turning point in the history of menstrual products. Stay Free, a former label under J&J, released the widely popular self-adhesive maxi pads of today. This also marked the end of Hosier Sanitary Belt. By 1980, more than half of the female population had made tampons a part of their lives. Even after all these developments, the stigma surrounding menstruation continued to persist. And if you're a Friends fan, you would be surprised to know that Courtney Cox, aka your very own Monica Geller, was the first to mention the word period. Although the scenario has improved and these days menstrual products are advertised showing blue liquid, there is still a long way to go. By the 2000s, sanitary pads and tampons had taken over the market and continue to do so in stiff competition. Menstrual cups, however, experienced spikes and declines in their popularity throughout. Why? Because most women were reluctant to use this product, not only because of the myths but also due to the lack of awareness. To a certain extent, the situation is still the same at present for tampons as well. Nowadays, you can see that there is so many menstrual products to rely on. Each of them has evolved on and on again to make menstruation a less exhausting part of the month. This also includes medications that not only provide relief from the excruciating pain but help skip your periods. We hope you enjoyed this video on menstrual products and how it all began. If so, don't forget to give it a like. Sharing this video can help normalize menstruation. Let us know of your experience with menstrual products in the comments below. Also, drop in any changes that you would like to see in their advertising. See you next time.